This is the pre-recorded video for Lecture 8 for Safety 388, OSH applications, and standards. I probably flipped that wrong. What you're looking at is the D2L page in content. Oh, I can't speak on for Lecture 8. I've got the PowerPoint that I'm going to review very, very quickly. I've got your take-home quiz 6. I've got the semester project, which we're going to look at the end, and then I've got the description or the instructions given to our interns to write case studies. And I have 3 case study samples for you to help guide you for this project. This project isn't due till the end of April, but I want to assign it now so you have plenty of time to have your selected topic and site verified and approved by me. You can't just run in and do it. So first, let's go through some stuff here. I want to review some of the things that Tony said. I want to review Module 1, mostly Oakley's textbook, and then talk about what a safety program looks like, and maybe provide some examples. But I probably won't because it'll take too long. So, Tony spoke in class. He was our first guest lecturer, and he gave an abundance of great information that I'm not sure everybody picked up on. Some of the things that I took away that I want to reiterate was first, he talked about research, really doing your homework prior to going out. It's something I had said when I was a compliance officer. I would do 2 to 3 hours of research before going out and doing a planned program inspection. And he also, remember in the group projects, he had said identify your sources or your references of where you'd look. And you guys basically said, well, I'd go to the OSHA website, I'd go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Some of you said we'd go to WorkSafe BC. That's great, but I think Tony gave you another half dozen to a dozen things you could look to. NIOSH was one of the things he brought up. All these are great resources, and you should do your homework before you go out. Don't just show up and go, oh, I'm here to do machine guarding assessment. How do you know? I mean, you should have a copy of the standard. You should look at case studies. You should know what others have done and actually have some sort of checklist or document to collect. Next, he had talked about document, and I kind of, made a joke here, but not really, that you're going to go out, you're going to observe, but you have to know how to document those observations. You need to interview, know how to document what you're hearing. Take photos, document it. Take video, document. Documenting is essential, and you need to plan it before you go out. You should actually, it's almost like you are a detective going to a crime scene. You need to be that specific with details, little nuances. All need to be collected and documented, because you may be collecting, you're not sure if you're going to need it later when you actually then go and say, okay, this, reflect on what you collected, analyze some things, and maybe look up things to verify. You want to collect more. You'd rather at that point say, well, I don't need this now, rather than go, oh, I wish I had that. Verify your work, so you should be asking questions of workers and supervisors in the area, but also asking experts, myself, Tony, other guest speakers we bring in. It's difficult to teach experience. You have to kind of just gain it, but you can speed things up by talking to one of us. And last, and I don't know if you guys noticed it, I did send out an email prior to him coming in saying, kind of dress the part, impress him. He's going to be a resource. Yet it looks like everybody kind of rolled out of bed. We had a lot of hooded sweatshirts and baseball caps and untied shoes, and you guys didn't give the impression that I had hoped you would. Some of you did okay. Actually, he was more impressed with the class that came right before that when he came a little bit early. Students came up and shook his hand, introduced themselves, and I mean, those students actually, he's looking for opportunities for them. But he did, at the end, he offered his time, which he has very limited to offer, to teach you one-on-one. He said, if you'd like to shadow me. And I mean, if you contact him now, he might be able to fit you in like a month or two. I mean, he's that busy, but he's a great resource. And so if anybody's really serious about gaining experience, I would, he said, look him up, call him, find him on LinkedIn, and I try to get that on your schedule as soon as possible. So that's what I took away. But for the take-home quiz, I'm going to ask you for your input. The semester started out that I was laying out what are the functions of the safety professional. The goal is to get you prepared to actually go out and do your first internship this summer, and I hope you are seriously thinking about that. Primarily, what we do and what we've done so far is anticipate, identify, and evaluate hazardous conditions and practices. That's what the Oakley book did. It gave us all kinds of tools and techniques and reminded us of critical things like documentation. Then we develop control strategies, and that's what we're going to be doing from here on out. That as I bring in guest speakers, they're going to talk about how they've applied and assessed and came up with controls or corrective actions for all sorts of different, excuse me, hazardous conditions in the workplace. And you could look at the syllabus as, we are broken it out by the main topics. In future classes, we're going to get into the implementation and measure and program, but so the course is pretty much laid out for us. Back in lecture 2, I presented this analytical process, and I think I did it in lecture 3 and 4 as we went through chapter 6 through 12. It is important that you understand this stuff. I hope you have evidence that you've read Oakley. Also, I'll be evaluating this when I do the case binder reviews in a few more weeks. I'll be looking for evidence you've read. I'll be looking at through it in your study sheets, but also that you understand this stuff. And in your quizzes, I've kind of already red flagged a few of you that it doesn't look like you've been doing the readings. I mean, it is important. You need to apply this stuff, and the semester project is predicated on it. Talked about the analytical approach. This is for accident investigations, but you can define a problem as I observed something or somebody reported an issue or the data shows. It doesn't actually have to be a formal accident that's investigated. It could be a pre-accident investigation. Some of the tools, and this Tony talked about this, reviewing policies, reviewing programs, looking at training. He talked about all of this, which is great. Fast forward to lecture 6, in which we got into the hazard control hierarchy, and that's something that I want to carry through the rest of the semester. Is you want to try to eliminate, and Tony talked about that, didn't he? He said, what are your engineering controls? What are your administrative controls? You want to try to eliminate it, so you're not relying on training people to be able to observe issues in their work environment and then try to handle it themselves. We want to try and make it so that there isn't much thought or behavior to control things. And then for the causes of accidents, I want you to look beyond the worker. That the worker doesn't want to get hurt. They're not intentionally doing something to get hurt. It's they're acting within sort of the confines of a work system that's been designed by management. And therefore, we should look beyond the person to figure out why they believed it was okay to behave a certain way or grab a certain tool, do a task a certain way, or to rush to get something done. Because it wasn't within them to intentionally do something to get hurt. So what does a safety program look like? I know you might think, oh, you can buy it. You got binders and stuff. But what I'm telling you is you can't purchase a safety program. It has to be earned through trial and error at your own workplace because it has to fit the people at your workplace, the supervisors at your workplace, the type of work you're doing, the actual changes in production or service or whatever it might be. It has to be built from within. You can't buy or borrow or steal from somebody else. Although some consultants try to sell you stuff or some companies try to sell you stuff. No, they can sell you tools in which to build, but you got to build your own. So what does it really look like? It's a rookie mistake just to copy and paste from the OSHA website or from the CFR. I reviewed a lot of safety programs, and when people are just starting out or they really don't know how to practice safety, it's very natural just to copy language directly from the standard. But that's not what it is. The standard is for the safety professional to interpret and then to collect from their workplace and create a program that, this is what the supervisor needs to know or follow. This is what the workers need to know and follow. But you yourself have a much larger document in which the kind of contains everything you've done, your assessment. So a program is really only written when you cannot substitute or eliminate a hazard because it's the supplement to it. It's talking about procedures and guards and PPE and training and signage because you couldn't eliminate it. So a safety program is really what you see out on the shop floor. And Tony had talked about this. You go talk to the workers. You can review the physical document, but what the safety program really is what's out on the floor, what you see the workers doing, the housekeeping, how that is. That didn't say that right. The quality of the housekeeping. Is there stuff strewn about or is it all organized? Are there physical hazards that are evident and you can see it, or is everything pretty much controlled? And then what do the workers think? That's what the safety program really is. Now here is, how do you build a safety program? And this is oversimplification in many ways, but like I had said, the basis for a safety program is if you can't eliminate a risk or a hazard, what you're trying to do is minimize its exposure. And you do that by doing anything from program audits to injury data and accident report analysis to doing more in-depth job safety analyses. Any of the ones that any of the approaches that from the Oakley book, and where the OSHA compliance is the minimum. That's the minimum we're trying to do. We're trying to go above and beyond. I think Tony even said that even if you're OSHA compliant, people are still going to get hurt. You got to go above and beyond it. But we use it as a reference point, sort of a minimum reference point. If you cannot eliminate or substitute, then there's going to be some form of exposure, even if there's a guard there. Somebody could work around it, and somebody's probably going to have to work around it when there's maintenance or changing of something. And so you got to come up with a program on how you're going to protect people when they have to enter a certain space or work around something, or provide them a tool or a task, a methodology to minimize the chance of exposure. That's basically it. And when accidents do occur, you need to be prepared for it. Do a comprehensive and fair assessment, collecting data and trying to learn from the mistakes. Cost justification is always important. It's something you're going to do in your case studies. We'll talk more about that throughout the semester, but researching to find out how much it's going to cost is important, but also what you're going to save the company if people don't get hurt, or if OSHA doesn't cite it, or if production doesn't go down or is slowed. And realize that this is a continuous process. Every day is a little bit new because you have new workers coming in, you have new focuses of production or service, new supervisors. There are all kinds of things that change within the work environment that we have to continually assess to make sure we are protecting workers the best we can, minimizing risk. If you want some information on program standards, and these are all OSHA related, so take that with a grain of salt. I provided some references, and it'll come up in future classes. But what it really boils down to is the elements of a successful safety program. We're really going to be focusing on the green this semester, leading into the blue. The red and the top two will come in different courses here at Whitewater. So let's get to the semester project. I've got just a quick couple words here, and then I'll open up the actual document itself. And that is, it is an individual assigned project. You get to choose the topic and the site. You got to go search it out. Unless the topic is complex or bigger than larger, or it would take more time for just one person to do it, then you could work as a team, but we will deal with that on a case-by-case basis. I provided some examples of past projects, and I really like this approach because I've had a lot of students complain of team projects, and so that's why I'm getting away from it. And I want to see what you're capable of. Sources for projects would be workplaces that your parents are, that your friends are, family members are, that you can get access to. Classmates. Some classmates may be working somewhere right now that they could talk to their supervisor or the plant manager to find out, introduce yourself as a UW Whitewater safety student that you'd like to do a safety case study. And it can be almost anything. And again, it has to be approved by me, and so you're going to present it to me as sooner than later, of course, so you can get working on it. And the project, it should take on-site, assessment and data collection is anywhere from 2 to maybe 6 hours. Research, writing, and things like that, and presentation and verification, maybe another 3 to 6 hours. In total, this is like a 20-hour project is what it is over the next 3 months. So the sooner you get on it, the better. Sorry. Yeah, I last semester it was best when students talked to their parents or to friends and they got access to workplaces. And the guest speakers that come in, some of them may actually have projects for you, and so it's something that I'll try to ask them about, but if they don't say anything, you could ask them as well. And I actually have some people, some companies in the area who are looking for help, and I'll be exploring those as well. I was kind of hoping we could get a little bit further past the ice and snow before we got into that, but I'll be working on that as well. So together, primarily you, but I'll be assisting, and I got to verify and approve it. You'll be choosing a topic. I was going to talk about my experience when I led the Extreme Makeover Home Edition safety effort, but let's get to the project. It's something we can talk about later in the semester. So here's the take home. Make sure you complete that by Sunday night at midnight. It's not going to take you long. It's not. I covered some of them, a lot of it when I was just talking there. Oh, before I open the semester project, so here is, again, the instructions given to students to write case studies. Here are 3 examples that I need you to look at. But the project itself, we're almost done here, so just hold on. Don't run. So the objective is to get you some practice. And not only in defining a problem and taking it to fruition where you can actually recommend corrective actions and do a cost-benefit analysis, but just having you to go out and ask questions and network and get yourself out there is all good practice for you. So you need to identify and define a safety concern or issue. And that's where a lot of professionals, they have things on their back burner that aren't real serious that I think they'd be more than happy to let you work on. It's just a matter of, do they have the time to supervise you, and do they have the management's approval to have you on site? Those are the 2 of the main issues. You will create a professional report, which I'll be helping you with, and there's instructions on the site right now. And then you're going to create a summary presentation. I'm going to be grading these. It's due, I think, the last Tuesday in April. I'll grade them in the following week, and the top presentations, the top reports and the top quality presentations will be giving their presentation to the class during the final exam period that's scheduled for our course, and they will not have to take the final exam. So only people who will be doing the face-to-face final exams are the students who didn't submit a quality project. If everybody does a quality project, then everybody's going to be presenting. We won't do any final exams. That's a possibility. Here's some sample topics. Just doing a simple JHA or workstation analysis is possible. It's simple. Doing a mock compliance audit is possible. Reviewing a safety program or writing HAZCOM or lockout tagout, anything like that is possible. I want it to be as close to an internship-like project as possible because I want you to gain confidence and the experience itself. So the whole project is 25% of your semester grade. 25% of that is going to come from the proposal of your topic and managing the project managing the project itself. So that's documenting your experiences. So I want to see a timeline. I want to see a whole project document. It could just be a couple pages long. I just want to see what you put into it, how you tracked it. Half of the grade is going to come from your technical report and 25% from the presentation. Well, it's probably going to, maybe I may balance that a little bit more because the presentation tends to contain a lot of pictures. It's probably the presentation you want to give to whatever site is allowing you in to do the project itself. The report and presentation are due to Dropbox by Tuesday the 25th, and I'd like you to bring hard copies of your report and your project management documentation to lecture that day. The PowerPoint you can just upload to D2L and I can look at it there. So that's basically the project. You're going to have lots of questions. I try to keep it vague, not vague, but kind of general so that we can, again, take everything on a case-by-case basis. So please do the take-home quiz. This is easy. And then you're going to put it in Dropbox by Sunday night. Describe 3 things you learned from Tony Prospero's lecture, but try not to just repeat mine. Come up with your own, please, based on your notes. Describe the steps for process for evaluating hazards in workplace conditions. What does a safety program look like? Describe the basic elements of a case study based on what's posted. And for your semester project, I want you to give me your initial thoughts of what you might work on and where you might go to find something. That's just due by Sunday night. If you got any questions, contact me. Otherwise, we have another guest speaker on Tuesday, Jay Gasser from ABI Tech. Thanks.